And we are live.
Oh, jolly good. I always know when it's Tuesday. I get out of my jammies and put on some lipstick, and here we go again.
And have wine for breakfast.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah,
It's Tuesday.
it's
Indeed.
Tuesday. Cocktails.
Well, this morning we're super excited to have the busiest man in Nashville, or the busiest man in showbiz, actually, join us today. He only needs one name. I said in my post, like Madonna or Beyoncé, it's Hollis. He only needs one name. He is an impresario and music business mover and shaker, a producer, an all-round raconteur, popular resort figure, and now bar owner. What could possibly go wrong? Ladies and gentlemen, it's Hollis.
Everything can go wrong.
When Ruth said he only has one name, I was going to say it like Stalin.
No.
Well,
Let's not go there.
If there weren't Miss in front of Angie, it would, you would be one name as well. So.
There you go. Exactly.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good to see you, ladies. It's been too long, and I miss you both. And yeah, we need
one
hugs.
of these fine days we'll get to Nashville.
Yeah.
Please. Yeah.
Well,
Love to.
maybe
Yeah.
we'll come and do an evening with at the 8th room and tell all our crazy Beatles stories.
That would be fantastic.
Oh,
I think that
that's
would be
an
great.
idea. Yeah.
So you guys had you had George Massenburg on, was it a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. And we have Chuck Ainlay coming up next week. So
Those guys.
we're getting those guys are legend. They're awesome. We're still trying to get you guys all together, but we'll see what happens.
I think that they're working on it. I
Okay.
think it looks good.
Cool.
Yeah. So I'm just curious because every time I'm with you guys, I always ask Miss Angie for stories. So what I haven't seen the George Massenburg one yet. Like, did you guys dive into just his history, or were you guys talking like rock and roll stories?
Little of both,
Both.
actually. And we did Frank Filippetti the week before that as well. And we did a lot of rock and roll stuff about Ringo, his admiration for Ringo, and how Ringo and my theory, Paul, both being left-handed, that just made a swinging rhythm section that, a lot of bands just didn't have. So, go back and watch Frank and George, and we're going to have Chuck next week. But I'm here to talk about what you're doing now. You took over the Douglas Corner gig. How on earth did that all come about? Well,
so I started my career in Nashville in 94, 95, somewhere around there. And the Douglas Corner it's back in excuse me, back in those days, when you were kind of coming up in the music business, there were several industry venues. The Bluebird is an institute, which is still here.
Right.
We had like 12th and Porter, Ace of Spades, the Exit Inn, the Inn for rock and roll, and then we had Douglas Corner.
Right.
A lot of these places do not exist any longer. The Bluebird is still there. I think the Bluebird is like deemed a historical site.
Right.
And I don't think that can go anywhere. Exit
Tootsie
Inn has been bought and sold a few times.
Is Tootsie still there? Tootsie's Orchid Lounge?
Tootsie's is there, yeah. Broadway is just very different. So like back in my day, Broadway used to be, it used to be
kind of hunky tonk,
dealers and pimps and a few of the tourists going down there hanging out at night. But that's really where like all of the if you came to Nashville and you wanted to be a writer or you wanted to get into country music, you really started busking on 2nd Avenue, right. And then you would start moving your way up Broadway. And the higher you got up towards like 5th Avenue, towards Tootsie's and Legends and Roberts, that's when you were making enough noise that all the record labels were coming out and looking.
Right.
But the Douglas Corner had been around for I believe it was like 30. They had a 35-year run in Nashville. So starting in the 80s, I believe Mervyn took it over like in 83, and had it like through all the mid to late 80s and all of the 90s. So basically in Nashville, if you know, the bigger songwriters were playing the Bluebird.
Right.
The younger people were the younger up and coming guys, singer songwriters. That's where they were going to really kind of woodshed was the Douglas Corner. So it's got a vast history.
Yeah.
You know, like, so Tony Brown, who you guys should have on your show as well. Tony Brown is one of the biggest record producers in country music history. So like the famous story of like him being at the Douglas Corner and rushing the stage and signing Trisha Yearwood like right there, you know, to Clint Black being signed at the Douglas Corner. Garth Brooks got his publishing deal. Big and Rich were formed there. The history is so deep.
Wow.
From like George Jones, like, you know, punched Garth Brooks and broke his nose.
Oh, nice.
There's just so much history, music history that has happened within that building, that the stage needed to be
Saved.
needed to be saved. You know, like you don't get bricks and walls and wood beams. You know, like the history. It's like the cavern.
Sure.
You know, if somebody would have really kind of taken that and not cemented it in or whatever they did with that. I mean, like if walls could talk.
Right.
So it was just one of those things. I think that everybody that's in the music business at some point, especially if you've been all over the world, you know, with bands, you've spent, you know, a good portion of your life in bars. And I just think that everybody has that secret desire. Wouldn't it be cool to own a bar?
Yeah.
You know, I kind of always had that. And you know, when we saw Douglas Corner was gone, it was available. I started, because it's right here by my house, it's walking distance. So I started kind of walking and meeting the realtors and meeting people that were going in. Sorry, I have bulldogs that are squeaking toys back there.
All right.
So I started meeting realtors and people that were going in, checking it out.
Right.
And, you know, started kind of hearing from realtors, you know, just being a fly on the wall. What's you know, what are people talking about doing? And it was everything from like hip hop clubs to, I think the closest thing was a hookah bar.
I was going to say a sushi bar. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a hookah lounge.
Which, you know, nothing wrong with a hookah lounge, but
No, not at all. But for me, it was like, you know, it just really needs the stage needs to be saved, and so I don't know. I went and got Erin and brought her in, and we looked at it. And listen, there had been no upgrades in this place since 1985.
Oh, good grief!
So it was duct taped together and super glued, and you know, it was pretty gross.
Fun with plumbing.
Yeah. So Erin went in. My wife, she and I went in and really kind of looked around. And you know, it was odd because once we got in there, we just started kind of visualizing and seeing what we could do. And I called the previous owner, Mervyn, great guy, and really, you know, proposed. I was like, hey, you know, what if we buy the rights to the Douglas Corner, and we, you know, we just kind of go in and we keep what you were doing, but just clean it up and, you know, just give it a makeover and kind of
bring it up to code.
Yeah, keep the ball rolling. And he was like, absolutely not. He was like, good luck. So we had to reinvent it.
Start from scratch.
Yeah. So our thing was, you know, to go in and we looked at places like the history of like Max's Kansas City,
Yep.
and Arlene's Grocery to the Viper Room and like the Rainbow Bar and Grill, and just places that I've loved, that I've come up through in my career.
Right.
And we took bits and pieces from all of those different things, and you know, went in with the idea that this is not, you know, LA moving in to make this a Hollywood, you know, kind of thing. It's we want to do something that nobody else is doing here in town, because it seems like, you know, from when we just started the story, it seems like when I was here in the 90s, you had like Tootsie's and Roberts and Legends Corner, and you had these great honky tonks, Wolfies, and the things that are now gone, like Ace of Clubs and 12th and Porter, and all these things that are gone, that were true industry hangouts. You know, like you would go in at 5 o'clock at Sunset Grill or 12th and Porter, and you would see all the music executives. You'd see all the wannabe, like, you know, A&R, up and coming guys that were always at showcases or just networking.
Yeah.
Right. What was the name of that place on 16th Avenue South across from EMI with a square bar in the back? And there was one place reserved for Harlan, who you couldn't sit in his chair.
That was
16th and...
Yeah, it was Lucy's. I believe it's Lucy's. I think it was Lucy's.
But I know what you mean. It ranged from honky tonks to, you know, when we lived in Nashville, as you know, Angie worked at the Tennessean newspaper, and Martin had a gig out at the airport, and I was doing all kinds of crazy catering stuff. And that's where we discovered the internet, where I was writing with an Australian legendary guy from the Flying Burrito Brothers called Brian Cadd. Nice. And I went out to his place in Franklin, and he was the first person I knew to have a modem, and he showed me a Yahoo, and boom, we went to the Nashville Library and got the only 16 books that existed on HTML and started building websites. And so, you know, we lived there a long time, and 12th and Porter and those places, they were all slightly different, but they were all held together with that kind of Nashville thing, right?
Yeah. There's another one called the Boot Store.
The Boot Barn or the Boot Store. That was down on Lower Broadway.
It was actually a shoe shop, but bands used to play in the window.
Yeah.
That is so okay. So that's Robert. It was Robert's Western Wear.
That's right.
Oh, right. Okay.
And it was a boot store during the day, and then bands would play at night in the window, and that's actually still there. I don't know if Roberts and Tootsie's, I would imagine, are deemed historical.
Yeah.
So like Roberts is still probably I would say most authentic, you know, country music, kind of still carrying the torch of finding these great musicians and getting up there and kind of honing their skills, and where the rest of Broadway has really just turned into, you know, 80s and 90s cover bands, and they're catering towards, you know, tourists, and very different than it was in the 90s. So when that was a very big deal for us, was we wanted to create an industry hangout.
Right.
Somewhere there where, you know, we had a great sounding room. We had a beautiful stage, and it was dimly lit, and it was just had all the things that if you took 12th and Porter, Ace of Clubs, Sunset Grill, like the Trace, all these different places, and kind of like shoved them into one industry style spot. That's really what we wanted. And then Aaron and I, just being art and design lovers, we just kind of we went for an aesthetic that we wanted to do. You know,
how did you decide on the design, the team that you brought in with, I mean, because it's just visually stunning. And I might add, you've just been mentioned in Rooms That Are Making a Difference in Town and Country magazine. Congratulations to you guys.
That's weird.
Right up there with the Sphere in Las Vegas. It's a lot smaller than the Sphere, but there's no less thought gone into it, right? So how on earth did you decide to pick who you wanted to work with, and what was that like, reaching out to those people and getting them involved?
So the team was just to kind of go back a little bit, when we took it over, we're still in the middle of COVID.
Right.
So we moved here, I don't remember, July 4th of 2020, I believe. So we were right in the middle of COVID. Everything was still, Nashville was definitely looser than Los Angeles.
Of course.
Sure. There, we didn't have the tourism here. You could still go to a restaurant, you could still go to a bar, but it was very limited. So we took the place. It was January 1 is when we started moving in, and the team was easy. It was
because you got some quite stellar people.
It was myself, it was Aaron Hollis, and it was Strummer Hollis. That was the team.
That's your daughter, Strummer.
Yeah. So
right, but I mean, all the stuff that you curated from various places, how
that's all.
It's Nashville. Where do you find a friggin' disco ball, for God's sake?
That was all Aaron. Like,
really?
She spent. I would wake up because I was doing a lot of construction. Like I went in and I spent 16, 17, sometimes 18 hours a day with sledgehammers and like there's 160 beams. 160 100-year-old beams in our ceiling that I refinished by hand, each one of them.
Wow.
Kind of like treating the old 100-year-old brick.
Yeah.
So I did all of that work.
Wow.
Clearly,
I had no idea.
Yeah.
You were so handy. I got a couple of shelves here, so come on over.
Well, it was good therapy. Right? It was good therapy, to really kind of go in there. And plus, like I said, it was COVID. So we didn't have a lot. There's not a lot that anybody could really go do. So instead of sitting at home drinking for 16 hours a day, we were like, let's go put our hands to work. And it really gave us a project to focus on and dig into. But, I would wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and I would look over and Aaron's on the computer and it was just constantly this. Finance. And, she would find something because the pieces that she found, they came from all over the world. Yeah. We had, like, our octopus door handle was made in Turkey. Wow. So all of the doors that are in the club, every single door that's in the club is from 1960 and under. Every door handle, every light, every chandelier, it's from the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s. And then all of the furniture that she curated is everything from Adrian Persol, Vladimir Kagan, Gucci. It's just... She really curated, like, to even moving into bringing in a few Lenny Kravitz pieces that are new, and then the things that aren't vintage, she designed and had everything custom built. So all of our boothing that runs along the walls, it's all custom that she designed. And I think it really, like, the whole thing for us became an obsession.
Oh yeah, of course, sure.
An obsession for detail. Yeah. So like we blacked out all of the windows in the club. So, you can't see in, there's no light, but where the window frames were, we had them, built out and framed. And then we had these busts sent from Greece, these busts of David. Yeah. And Strummer and I painted all the busts and we wrote like, slogans on there and then put those into these beautiful picture frames that were these old windows. Wow. But like behind the bust, it's like Jean-Michel Basquiat wallpaper. Wow. We had like Aaron sourced this wallpaper from Gianni Versace, which was like one of his last projects that he was working on. It was a pet project that he was working on before he was murdered. And Donatello went in years later and finished it up and released it in small quantities. And and like that's in our private VIP room, and it's just, you know, everywhere you look, like there's a
story.
Yeah, there's a story. So like we have. You remember the Viper Room? How they have the one-way mirror that went back in the day and had the little boxcar behind it, and that's where like Johnny and people would always sit. So we took that idea and we just made it on a very large scale. So we have I think it's a 6 by 6 foot window that just overlooks the entire club. And when you move into our private room, you take a step up and you're in this room and you can just see the entire club, and it's just a big mirror. And so there's just lots of detail in the club. And again, that there was a collaboration definitely with Aaron and Strummer and I, but it really kind of fell on Aaron. Like,
wow. Well, she did an unbelievably amazing job, because when I was reading some of the PR, there's me imagining that the pieces of furniture that you guys curated, that you had to consult with those designers and people and say, what would you put in this space and how would you do this space? I thought it was a team of like 100 people must have put that together. Yeah.
Well, I would say we probably saved hundreds of thousands of dollars by doing it ourselves. But again, I really do believe that, you know, once we walked in and it took us really about 6 months to clean the place. So we had to gut it. We had to move everything out. A lot of walls had been mortared over.
Oh God.
Over the years. And, you know, we had to literally sit there with sledgehammers and break mortar. But then you're looking at like this beautifully preserved virgin brick.
Right.
You know, it's 100 years old. And then like where the bar used to be, there was like a tiled floor. Oof. Once we started scraping the tiles off, you started getting into like the 1970s and then the 1960s and then the 1950s of being able to see layers of like paper flooring to tiled flooring and
goodness.
And then we got all the way down to the brick. I'm sorry, to the original concrete
baseboard. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, flooring, which was I forgot what they call it. There's a word for the type of concrete, but like the technique is no longer used. So like the floor itself is a work of art.
Yeah, unbelievable.
How wonderful. Is it necessary to make reservations to come to your club?
It's not. You know, it's interesting how we've kind of gone about the club. It's all word of mouth.
Right.
Yeah.
So, we do no advertising and no marketing. It's if you know, you know. And the way that we communicate usually is through our website, like our what do you call it? Like the
Instagram, the social media.
Instagram stories is where we communicate.
Right.
So if something is happening, it's going to go on Instagram stories and.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, I think what Angie's getting at is you can't just wander in for a drink because you have ticketed events, right? Or private events. I know you rent the place out for privates as well. Mm-hmm. So are all your events ticketed or are you open on certain nights?
Yeah, we're open.
Just as a bar and a place to meet and greet and what have you.
Yeah. And so we started year one with the goal of opening 100 days. And we did 100. I think we did 120 days year one.
Wow.
Year two, our goal is 200 days.
Wow.
And you know, so we're moving into some happy hours, which will be like BMI will do a happy hour.
Gotcha, or ASCAP
one day. It'll be like Broken Bow will do a happy hour. Big Loud will do a happy hour, and it'll be it's a lot of networking.
Yeah.
but we're about to open that up. So I've got an art show coming up on the 25th, and then I think after that we launch Happy Hour, opening up, and that'll, again, it'll be a word of mouth kind of. We have security at the door. There's dress codes, and we just deal with a lot of celebrities, and people, they want to come in and they want to be able to hang out and not be,
right. Yeah. You just had a great Shelby Lyn show, didn't you, a couple weeks ago? That
was really incredible. Yeah. Oddly enough, somebody was there from, I don't even know if I'm supposed to say this, but I'll just tell you anyway. It doesn't matter. Somebody was there from William Morris, and they came up to me, and we just had a quick chat, and he was talking about the room. So the room, just a little backstory, the Douglas Corner always sounded good. It was a good sounding room.
Right. I remember that.
We went in, and I hired my buddy John Wilson to come in, and he helped design all the sound, along with Martin Audio out of London.
Right, amazing.
Which is, Martin is really known for Pink Floyd. They've designed every Pink Floyd tour since day one.
Wow.
Martin, those guys, the president flew in. He brought his technician in from New York. We really looked at the room, and acoustically made it sound great. But a 65,000 watt which allows us to have a lot of headroom, which means you and I can have a conversation like we're having now, and a band be playing, and it's perfectly crystal clear.
I only have one question though. Does it go to 11?
It does. It'll go to 1100. So the Shelby Lyn thing was, first of all, she I've always liked her. I've always been a fan of her because she's such a Lucinda Williams style songwriter. She's
a baller, right?
Yeah. And when she came in, she and I, we just locked eyes and we just connected. I think because we're both just batshit crazy, but we just really connected. And I think that gig gave her everything that she needed to really kind of come out, because it sounded phenomenal, and it was a great turnout. Anyway, there was a William Morris agent was in, and he was talking about how good he was. Like, man, the room is just incredible. I was like, and so I was like, yeah. So what do you do? What is your
gig? Right?
What was your main gig? And his main gig is he books the underplays, the downplays for the Rolling Stones. Anything 200 cap and under, because they do a warm-up tour before they go and they do their stadium tours, and they've never done a warm-up in Nashville.
Right.
And he was like, this is perfect. And I was like, yeah, it's perfect, man. So fingers crossed on that. But we've had a bunch of cool people come in, like Mike Easterlin, who was the president of Elektra. He's discovered like just a ton of bands. Shinedown was one of his big bands.
Oh yeah.
And so he brought those guys in, and I forgot the Sympathy of Being Human, I believe is the name of the song. So they were debuting that song to radio.
Okay.
And all the radio guys were there, and they played it, and it was the first time anybody had really heard that song.
Wow.
And that's it's still charting. But, having those guys in to Shelby was great.
Well, I think it's, you said before, if these walls could talk, and we were talking to, I can't remember who it was, but it's like there are places like the Ryman and the 8th Room, formerly Douglas Corner, and the Cavern, that and various churches and tabernacles and synagogues, to be honest, where the history and the love and the warmth just still oozes out of the walls. It's like that little extra bit of fairy dust on the mixing board that you can't define, but it's in that space.
Yeah.
Right.
I definitely believe that's that's what we have for sure.
Which is how the universe led you to doing that. And, God love you with a sledgehammer and redoing 160 beams by hand. But it gives you, A, it gave you something to do other than, eat Cheetos during COVID, but B, it gives you real authenticity in the ownership space. And that's probably another reason why you were featured in that Rooms That Are Making a Difference in Town and Country, simply because you and your family, your wife and daughter, you're the real deal. You are invested in this, blood, sweat, tears, lock, stock, and barrel, right?
Yeah, like I tell people, like I know every brick,
every light switch, every tile.
I know everything in that building, and just as Erin knows everything.
All the artifacts,
every design piece. I mean, she can tell you the history of everything in there.
Oh, it's kind of like a living museum, isn't it? You're adding music every night.
It's yeah. And what's crazy is like, I don't know if I told you this, but like Queen was playing the Bridgestone Arena, and they played our club the night before. It's just, so you just never know,
Wow. You had Poodlehead in the building. Amazing.
Yeah.
That's Sir Poodlehead to me. But.
Sure. Yeah.
That's incredible. So if I'm in Nashville and have you ever done anything crazy like weddings? Somebody getting married at the 8th Room? Is that even a thing? Could it be?
Haven't done that. I think we've had a few, I guess like receptions or whatever. People have come in. I've not had anybody get married there yet. No.
Okay, well,
maybe I should get ordained so I can.
Well, so am I.
So she's ordained. Yeah. If they want a true rock and roll wedding, we'll fly her in and put the couple on your stage, and you can be the ringmaster. Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll work for Chardonnay.
Yes, indeed.
Got plenty of that.
Oh, good. Yeah, when Hollis said to me, because we know each other through, I think Mike Malkasian, who was opposite our office, right? He introduced him, probably 15 years ago, 20 years ago. And it was like that. Hollis and I, we just locked eyes and we were like, I get you. And we went to various things together. When Martin was booked in the studio or couldn't go to like American Idol or So You Think You Can Dance, Hollis was always my, gentlemanly +1.
Yeah.
And we'd go and tear it up and, talk about the music industry. But back those days, you were working for Ryan Seacrest Productions. What were you doing there?
We worked on various projects. So I started my first like kind of real gig with him was to go in and work with the production team on coming up with ideas for music related shows.
Oh, I see.
Pitch concepts and what would be cool and would it be cool. And that kind of evolved eventually into the TV show Best Cover Ever.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Basically, it was fans submitting fan versions of like a Katy Perry song or a Demi Lovato song or Boyz II Men or whoever we had on there, Keith Urban. Fans would submit their version of a cover. And then it would be voted for online. And then basically the fans would be flown out thinking something was happening. And then Katy Perry would slide down a fire pole and say, you're here. Anyway, it became a competition where two groups flew out. So we picked the top two and two groups would come out, and whoever had the best cover version of this specific song would then go in and do a song with Katy Perry. It was a way to find and develop talent, but it was YouTube's first music related TV series.
Oh, good grief. I mean, I knew you were involved in that whole world, but we were all just coming and going and so busy in those days. And Strummer she wasn't a baby, but she was pretty dang young. So you guys were always being, the perfect mom and dad. How is she doing? What's Strummer up to?
Strummer is 17.
Golly.
She's in a great school. She's got straight A's, and she's looking at colleges right now. So she's a junior. She got one more year,
Right.
and then looking at, I think she's looking at Florida.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
University of Florida has this really great program that was designed by I forgot the guy's name. The gentleman that created Gatorade.
Oh, good grief.
We made that for the Florida football team, for the Gators.
Yes.
And so he's got a program there called the School of Innovation. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the School of Innovation. And basically what they do is it's a four-year degree, but it's really designed for entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. And go in, they pair them with mentors and VCs, and you're going through the whole process of writing business plans, creating ideas, vetting ideas, understanding the financing of things, the marketing, all the way through pitching to receiving seed funding to developing. So the businesses that have come out of that program are pretty wild. So she's looking at things like that.
Well, I remember when she was about 12 or 13, we had her here on TeaFlix, actually live in this room, because she had started an online business selling slime, and she did really well, didn't she?
She
made a bunch of money selling slime.
It was crazy. I remember Erin was on a trip.
Oh, yeah.
Erin was on a trip with her friends, and Strummer was like, "Daddy, I need you to build me a website." And I was like, if you want to figure out how to build a website, here's the computer, figure it out. And I was like Punk Aristocrats 24/7 at that time.
Right.
And so we had a movie playing or something, and she gets on the computer and she looks up like Wix or whatever, and I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and she's still on the computer, and she's got the website built with pictures, and she's linked a PayPal account, and she's getting ready to launch it. And then the next day she went in and she's making YouTube videos, and she's selling slime all over the United States. So she's kind of got that. Erin and I are both very entrepreneurial,
right?
And we encourage that. One of our things with her even was with school. We were like, listen, if you don't want to go to college, you can take your college money and we can apply that. Pitch us ideas, and we can take that and we can invest in something that you want to go do. Start a business.
Yeah. Right.
And I think her thought is she really wants to go, for the experience.
Yeah.
Of kind of leaving home and kind of
and the discipline of learning from somebody other than mom and dad, and not being able to push back, having to go away and think about it, and have a schedule and whatever. Barbara's just saying, by the way, Dr. Robert Cade invented Gatorade.
Oh, okay, there you go.
No, we
Dr.
don't.
Robert Cade. Yeah.
Well, that sounds amazing, because I know she was super entrepreneurial at 12 and 13.
Yes.
So, hey, maybe going to college is a good thing. But she's, lucky to have parents like you that if she wants to either have a gap year or skip it all together and just go straight into business, like Steve Jobs and a few other people like that.
We've told her, there's absolutely, there's no pressure for anything.
Right.
School is always going to be there.
Right.
And,
Yeah, you can go when you're any age. Absolutely. I mean, there's online courses, there's all kinds of things. That's what one of the guys I follow on social that I love is Mike Rowe from, Dirty Jobs. He's all about, if you don't have the money or you don't have the propensity to go to college, if you learn to be a plumber or even just a handyman.
Yeah,
I had a handyman over here last weekend to do some basic stuff, $80 an hour.
I had a plumber last week at $250 an hour.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
Yes.
it's just crazy. So
Yeah.
I think college is a must for some people, but now we live in such a gig economy and an age where we can do business and stuff on the internet. I don't think it's an absolute, you're going to be a failure if you don't go to college.
I agree. You know, and she's had you know, she's grown up just, you know,
Around you guys.
not as crazy as the life that you grew up, but she's grown up around, you know, rock stars her whole life and around studios. And, you know, her first concert was Cyndi Lauper, and Cyndi brought her on stage and sang happy birthday to her at the Greek, you know.
Oh my God. Amazing.
She's had a life that, you know, I don't think that she even understands how cool it is.
No, probably not.
No,
Yeah. But I think for her, it's like, you know, it's weird. She's so level-headed, and
I know, she's wonderful. Love her. Yeah.
She's got it. So whatever she wants to do, I know that she's going to be.
Well, maybe she'll go to New York and open a 9th room.
I hope not. I hope not.
Okay, don't show her this part of the show because it might give her a bad idea.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you obviously people can find out more about you at 8throom.com. There's no the on it. It's not the 8th room. It's 8throom.com. And look in the current issue of Town and Country magazine. If you're visiting Nashville, make sure you check out their calendar and get on a happy hour or a ticketed event, or find somebody get you an invite. Yeah,
follow us on Instagram. That's really the easiest. That's the easiest way, because we use our stories. That's how we communicate.
Yeah,
and it's the octopus logo you're looking for.
Octopus logo. It's I think our Instagram is _8th_room.
That's right. So you've probably never seen the show before, but our good friends and regulars like Paul Moody and so on know that for our very special guests, Angie and I always just crack out a limerick at the end, because she's got a limerick book out called Mrs. McCartney's Liverpool Limericks and Other Random Irish Haikus. Nice. And so as an addendum to that, we would like to thank you for being on the show. Follow him on socials, go to the website, and greet you goodbye with our limerick. So hold, please. And a 1, a 2, a 3. Hollis, thank you for making our day. We wish we had more time to play, but we know you are active, keeping 8th room attractive. So we'll buzz off and get out of the way.
Oh my God, hang on. I got to get a bottle so I can toast you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to fill up my wine and hope that's, oh, yay. Okay. Jolly good. Cheers, my friend.
Cheers, ladies. I love you both.
I love you too.
I love you too.
I can't wait to see you. Hopefully,
yeah.
I don't know when we're coming to LA, but I think it's sooner than later. Aaron will be there in May. I think I'm coming in July. So
okay.
Well, you know, we're right by the airport, and the kettle's always on, and there's always a bottle of something.
Listen, me and Miss Angie, you don't have to tell us twice.
If you look behind me, you know, there's a bottle of something.
Miss Angie and I like to start when the roosters crow.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yes.
The early bird gets the bourbon, I always like to say.
Yes, ma'am. That's right.
All right, my sweet.
Okay.
Love to the ladies. Love you lots.
Love you both.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.